It's time for Betty Crocker's Cookie Book. If you're new here, I'm Anna. I love to try all sorts of vintage recipes, and this is maybe one of my most favorite cookbooks of all. It always makes me think of the holidays, even though it's not technically a Christmas cookbook. I think a lot of people have warm feelings toward this book, and we'll definitely talk about it a little bit later. So cookie time. This is the time of year when I probably bake the most cookies, and the cookie book is one of my go-tos. I'm trying a couple of new to me recipes out of this book, and I couldn't be more excited about it. This recipe is an absolute classic, as many of the recipes in Betty Crocker's Cookie Book are. But I think this one's gonna be really familiar to a lot of people, and it may even be a family tradition for you. I'm talking about Snickerdoodles. And that right there is what they should look like. I have a couple of other decorating ideas that I want to try out. Let's make some Christmas magic. So maybe this is the recipe that you use for Snickerdoodles. Maybe it's not, maybe you have one that's just a little different, but they all make this sort of like chewy cookie that is rolled in cinnamon sugar. And then when you bake them, they kind of like flatten out and crinkle up. They're just very delicious. So this particular recipe starts with a mix of shortening and butter. I'm cutting this recipe in half. I do that a lot, especially with cookie recipes, because the original recipe says it makes 6 dozen cookies. I don't need that many right now. I just don't. So I have a 1/4 cup of butter here, and I also have a 1/4 cup of shortening. You can go all butter if you want, but the recipe says 1 cup shortening, part butter or margarine. So I'm just doing half and half. I also have 3/4 cup of granulated sugar here, and I am gonna start by mixing that together with my hand mixer. All right, my sugar, my shortening, and my butter are well combined. And now I have to add an egg. And I need to mix that in as well. We are thoroughly combined here. So I'm gonna set this mixture aside, and I'm gonna come back in with my flour. To that, I am adding, what is this? This is salt. I'm adding 1/8 teaspoon of salt. I'm adding 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and I'm adding 1 teaspoon of cream of tartar. Probably the only recipe that I use cream of tartar for. There may be 1 or 2 others, but I usually, when I get cream of tartar, I make sure I get that little small container because I just don't use it very much. I'm gonna go ahead and whisk all of these together. I don't know why I set my other bowl aside because it's coming right back. It's coming right back. These cookies, they do mix up fairly quickly, which is also nice when you're super busy at the holidays, but you wanna bake something nice. So let's bring this back. So I need to stir my flour mixture into my butter mixture. I'm gonna bring back the hand mixer for a little bit here. And don't forget, if you're using a Pyrex Cinderella bowl, this is a pour spout. It's lovely. So you can gradually add that flour mixture, stir it in. So I'm gonna scrape this down, make sure that flour is completely mixed in. I didn't miss any at the bottom. And we have a lovely little bit of dough here. It's gonna make a good amount of cookies because these cookies are not very big. Anyway, I'm gonna chill this for about an hour and then I'll come back and bake these. About an hour has passed. I took the dough out of the refrigerator maybe like 5 minutes ago. You wanna chill it, but you wanna get it like a little bit pliable before you start to scoop it and bake it. So here is what would normally happen. I would have a mixture of cinnamon and sugar. So I'd scoop my dough, I'd roll it into a ball, roll it in the cinnamon sugar, and then put it on the cookie sheet so that I could bake it. You wanna make like maybe 1-inch balls here. I wanted to get a little bit experimental. I have some different things I wanna try. So there's 2 things. I'm gonna do cinnamon and sugar, but I have this like red and green sanding sugar. So I'm gonna mix just a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of this together so that we get some really festive colors hopefully going. The other thing I wanna try, I got my hands on some of this McCormick gingerbread spice finishing sugar. Now, I saw these finishing sugars pop up on Instagram a couple weeks before Halloween, so mid-October. By the time I made it to a store that carried them, which Walmart, I think, I don't know if it was just Walmart that carried them, maybe like a week before Halloween, a week and a half, they were almost completely sold out. In some stores, they were completely sold out. I managed to get my hands on the gingerbread spice, and there's like a peppermint one too. I keep checking because there's a couple more flavors I'd love to grab and love to try for my holiday cookie baking, but they're just, I don't think they're being restocked right now, which doesn't really make sense to me, McCormick, because this is clearly a limited edition thing for, you know, cookie baking for the holidays. So it seems like to me anyway, that they would be producing more of these. I'm not sure. But in the meantime, I got this gingerbread spice one and I thought it would go really well with this Snickerdoodle cookie dough. I mean, this one is just like ready to roll, right? I'm just gonna pour a little bit in a container here. I mean, sure, you know, I don't know. You could probably mix ginger and sugar on your own, but it has more in it than that. Sugar, ginger, cinnamon, molasses, allspice, and nutmeg. So it's got more than just sugar and ginger in there. Oh, it smells so good. Yes, I'm gonna mix a little bit of this sugar with some cinnamon. And I'm not even sure if I'm gonna bake all of this dough off today. So I've been successful in making ginger cookies and just like scooping the dough, rolling it into balls, and then freezing it on a little sheet tray. And then when those are all frozen, I take the balls off of the sheet tray and I put them in a freezer bag. And then when I'm ready to bake them, that is when I roll them in sugar and bake them. I made these ginger cookies that were so delicious. I'll link that recipe in the description down below. It's not my recipe, but it worked really well. So I'm thinking it might also work very well to do that with this Snickerdoodle cookie dough. I freeze cookie dough for like chocolate chip cookies, monster cookies, all that stuff. So, you know, I think it could work. Also a great thing to do if you wanted like space out your cookie baking for Christmas. You know, maybe you like to do it all in one day. I don't know that I can. So I'm gonna be trying to spread some of this out. And that way, you know, if I want some fresh cookies, if someone's coming over or I need to take something somewhere, I can make them straight from the freezer. That's what I love about having already scooped cookie dough in the freezer. Yeah, you don't really notice the way the cinnamon looks with the red and green. The red and green really does kind of shine through. Maybe I can bring it up here. Yeah, I mean, I think it might look good by the time I get this on the cookies. We'll see. The exciting part, have a little assembly line going. Yeah, it's just softened up ever so slightly, just enough to be a little bit pliable. So I'm gonna roll this in a ball. Let's just go for the ginger first. If you're gonna do a lot of these, of course, like get bigger bowls of sugar, but I'm just doing a few to give it a try. And I'm gonna do the red and green now too. I'm probably just gonna start by baking 2 of each, just to kind of make sure that this works the way I want it to. I don't wanna scoop an entire batch here and then have it not do the thing I want it to do. I mean, I'm excited about both. I just feel like this red and green one has real potential to look kind of amazing. And of course, the traditional cinnamon and sugar is also incredible. So do what you want, but I just wanted to try some things out. Why not? Get a little adventurous. This is like not that adventurous. This is me getting experimental, so. I'll bring that up. Maybe, I don't want to tip it too much, but yeah, that's what they look like unbaked. So now I'm gonna bake these in a 400-degree oven. It says 8 to 10 minutes. So I'll start with 8, kind of see where we go. So I just wanted to show you what these actually look like before I try them. So you can see that they puff up a little bit and then they flatten out. And I think it's especially noticeable on a few of these where there's some like crinkly cracks in them, sort of like the way that a chocolate crinkle, which I made last year in last year's cookie video, you dip the chocolate cookie dough balls into powdered sugar and then they puff up, flatten out, and there's a little bit of a crinkly top there. So I'm pretty pleased with how they turned out. Yeah, there's the red and green sanding sugar. The ginger, like the gingerbread sugar, it looks like almost exactly like a regular cinnamon sugar snickerdoodle. I can smell the ginger just a little bit. It's pretty subtle. I'm actually gonna break this in half because I have to try 2 different cookies. Yes, it breaks really nicely. I ended up baking mine for about 9 minutes. You know, your mileage may vary, and you don't want to overbake these either. They're going to be just set when you're done baking them. Okay, so let's go with this one. I mean, I know what this is probably going to taste like, but it looks very cute, doesn't it? Really good. Just like a snickerdoodle. And let me break another, like the ginger one. I just want to see how much the gingery sugar makes a difference. Can definitely smell it a little. Yes, I can taste it. I would not say that it's like overwhelmingly ginger. It's just like a little hint, like a little bite there, but it is very delicious. I thought I would try out these lemon snowdrops. I thought they looked so cute. That is actually what they look like. And I don't really think you can quite tell from this photo, But this is a filled cookie. I don't often make filled cookies. The filling is a lemon butter filling. I'm thinking it's probably a little bit like a lemon curd, just according to what the directions say. Also, these Snowdrops really remind me of the mint melt-away cookies I made some years back. Those were really good. They were minty and just light, and they did really just melt away. So I'm gonna see how these compare. Much like the mint melt-away cookies, there's not a lot to the actual cookie part of this recipe. It's butter, it's confectioner's sugar, flour, a little salt, and some lemon extract. Cream, butter, and sugar. So I am cutting this recipe in half. So I have a half a cup of just unsalted butter that is very soft. I also have a quarter of a cup of sifted confectioner's sugar. So now I mix. That didn't take too long at all. Now I have to add my lemon extract, my flour, and my salt. And that is all the ingredients in the cookie part. Half a teaspoon of lemon extract. It smells amazing. I have my salt and I have a cup of flour. I'm gonna start with the hand mixer. I may eventually just switch to the spatula. It has come together to form a nice cookie dough. It's gonna look crumbly. It's gonna look crumbly, you might wanna panic. But basically what I did is I mixed it with my hand mixer until it reached sort of like a crumbly, those little pea-shaped pieces of butter. You know, I worked it with a spatula after that, just a little, and then I went back in with my hand mixer, and this is what it turned out to be. So just keep going. You might wanna panic, but you're on the right track if it looks like that. Got a cookie sheet. I have my tiny scoop. These are gonna be very dainty little gals here, little cookies. Level teaspoons full. Yes, so these are gonna be small, which makes sense because you're gonna put 2 of them together with a filling in between. This is the size. That's what it's looking like. Measure the teaspoonsful of dough, round into balls. So we're making like teeny baby cookies. Not gonna do a full sheet to start, just to test some things out, you know? I'm not gonna put them too close together. It is very soft. I mean, it's mostly butter. So while I'm baking batches, I will pop this in the fridge. You know, I'm gonna start with 5 and bake those and see how they turn out. Maybe, should I make it 6? Let's just make it 6 because then that's 3 sandwich cookies, right? I think we need even numbers here. Okay, now we're gonna bake this at 400 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes. So this is what we have after 8 minutes of baking. They are brown around the edges and just like slightly browned on top. I may experiment with like a slightly shorter baking time because I don't know if that's too brown around the edges. Also, after you fill these, you roll them in powdered sugar, so maybe that gets covered up. But I am gonna remove these. And I'm just putting them on a cooling rack. I'll continue to scoop and bake, and then it's time to make the filling. These are all cooled. So now it is time to make the lemon butter filling. So I have a little pan of simmering water here, and I'm setting a bowl on top of it because we're gonna make this in a double boiler. So to my bowl, I'm adding 2/3 of a cup of granulated sugar. I have 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. I have the zest of said lemon. So the lemon was perfect. It gave me exactly 3 tablespoons of juice. I also have 1 slightly beaten egg. I let this come to room temperature because I didn't want the egg to scramble while I was cooking. You know, that's why we're cooking it very gently over a double boiler. So I'm gonna stir that before I add my very last ingredient. 1.5 tablespoons of softened butter, if it'll come out of my little container here. There you go. So we'll let that butter melt in there. It says cook over hot water until thick, stirring constantly, and then set aside to cool. I'll give you a little peek part of the way through. All of the butter has melted. It is still pretty liquid though, so I'm gonna keep stirring. So this has thickened up quite a bit. You can kind of see it's coating the back of this spoon. So now I need to let it cool, and I suspect it's gonna thicken up even a little bit more than this as it cools. As you can see, the filling, it thickened a lot. And I made the full amount of filling. I didn't want to go ahead and try to split it in 2 because it was a single egg. I'm sure I'll find a use for it if I don't use all of it. Because I did take a little taste of the filling alone, and boy is it good. Got my cookies all cooled here. Very dainty, very cute. I baked the rest of them at just like 1 minute less than these, and it made all the difference. To put a little bit of the filling in a piping bag, I'm trying some different things on like how to fill these, I guess. I'm gonna flip these actually, so I can grab them and fill them. Yeah, you can see, you can get a better picture of like how brown that first little batch ended up. So we'll do our best. I probably should have matched these before I did this. I'm just doing a thin layer of filling in between, and it makes like a little ball here. And once I fill all of them, I have to roll them in powdered sugar. They are rolling around a little bit. It's kind of funny. I was thinking I should probably let them set a little bit before I roll them in the powdered sugar. There's a bird outside. I have the windows open a little bit. It's a little dreary today, so good day for baking cookies, really. It's raining, but I just wanted to let a little fresh air in while I do this. My cooling rack, it has like a grid to it, so it's actually kind of perfect for letting these kind of like sit for a bit because they remain upright. I can find a little spot for them. Yeah, it's perfect. But anyway, I'm gonna continue to do this. I'll probably let them sit for just a few minutes before rolling them in the powdered sugar and giving them a taste. I let these sit for maybe like 15 minutes. They're doing pretty good. There's a couple that slid around. It's not too bad though. I'm really excited to try everything as a whole just to see what it's gonna be like. The last finishing touch on this, I just have to roll these in a bit of powdered sugar. So that's what I'm gonna do. See if they look as nice as Betty's in the cookie book. They don't. She says roll it in powdered sugar. I don't know. So what I think I'm gonna do is roll them in powdered sugar and then maybe just like tap this rack against the counter and maybe some of it will fall away. Does it say roll in powdered sugar? Am I just making this up? Yeah, it does. Oh well. We're rolling. Really just wants to stay on there in big pieces. Okay. You know what it didn't say? It didn't say sifted confectioner's sugar, but I'm wondering if that's the key here. One moment. Okay, we sifted some. Let's try again. This is definitely fluffier. Still not looking like my favorite. I think these are gonna taste phenomenal though. Even though this is like a multi-stage process. I've actually drawn this out over an entire day because my day was a little chopped up with some things I had to do. I mixed the dough and baked a little bit earlier. You know, I did some of the things I needed to do and I came back and I made the filling. I will finish rolling these in my sugar and then we'll try them. That's the exciting part. And there we have it. And I just finished taking a thumbnail photo of these. Now my camera is covered in powdered sugar. Oh, yes, so they are a little roly-poly. But like I said, I think they're gonna taste really good. So I'm gonna try one. It's probably gonna be very messy. I don't think you just take one bite of this either. I don't know. Very delicious. Wow. If you love lemon, these are the cookies for you. The execution though, I want it to work better than it does because they're so roly. The powdered sugar didn't turn out the way exactly I wanted it to. So I think I would like to experiment with this recipe a little bit more. Let's see if I can figure out a good way to make it more of a thumbprint than a sandwich cookie. Because these don't flatten out, you know? They don't flatten out, they stay domed on the top, so they just kind of like roll around. But wow, the flavor on these is so delicious. And it's kind of like a nice, very bright pop of citrus flavor in the middle of winter. Like who wouldn't want that? I'm going to be making some Spritz cookies. Not just any Spritz cookies though. These are gonna be chocolate Spritz cookies, which means I get to use my OXO cookie press. Anytime I get to bring this out is fun. I did an entire video on this cookie press reviewing it and showing you how to use it and everything a couple of years ago. So I will go ahead and link that video in the description down below. Many of you have left very nice comments thanking me for the advice. So thank you. I'm glad that you found it helpful. I do show how to do everything with the press in pretty good detail. So if you want some more guidance, you can check that video out. Now let's make some chocolate Spritz cookies. Mix butter, sugar, egg, salt, and flavoring thoroughly. So the chocolate Spritz is a little bit of a variation, and for that you actually need 2 ounces of unsweetened chocolate that you have melted and cooled. This stuff right here, I like to show a package of what it looks like so that you know. Did anybody else try to eat this as a kid? You thought that was a big chocolate bar and it looks delicious. It's not sweet. Doesn't taste very good on its own. A cup of butter, whoops, that is a cup of butter that is very soft. Sugar, so I have half a cup of sugar. This is the full recipe. I'm making the full recipe. And I have an egg. And I'm mixing this all together at once. A lot of times I will cream the sugar and the butter together, like by itself, but Betty's saying to mix it together. And flavoring, you have the option in the base recipe to use vanilla or almond. I stuck with vanilla. I think I did almond before when I made just my plain Spritz cookies. I thought the vanilla would go well with the chocolate part. I am gonna mix this up a little bit before I add the unsweetened melted chocolate. Nice and fluffy and smooth. I mixed this for maybe 2 minutes. There is a timer on the top part of my hand mixer that tells me how long I'm mixing this. So helpful. I know it's not necessary, but it certainly is nice. So now I have to add my melted chocolate. I also forgot to add the salt. I think it's because in my mind the salt goes in with the flour, but not in this recipe. So I'm gonna go ahead and add half a teaspoon of salt. And then I have 2 ounces of melted and cooled unsweetened chocolate. I always think that Spritz cookies are so fun. They're just fun to look at. They're small cookies. I'm a big fan of small cookies. And you can, do different flavors, different decorations, different shapes. It's just a lot of fun. We're gonna scrape it, maybe do one more mix before the flour goes in. It just looks great this way. I mean, it just looks nice. It looks beautiful. One more mix. We'll do just one more, make sure it's all incorporated. So now that these ingredients are all mixed together, I need to start working in the flour. I'm gonna start with my hand mixer. By the end of it, I will probably be using a spatula. A little bit at a time. This is 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. The OXO press actually comes with its own recipe as well, but I've never tried it. I always use Betty's recipe. I think I'm already gonna switch over to my spatula. So it just feels nice, this dough. I mean, it's not much of a dough yet. There's not a lot of flour in here at the moment, but there will be. What cookie do you look forward to the most when it comes to the holidays? Is it from the Cooky Book? Even if it's not, you can tell me in the comments down below. I actually made a playlist of all of my Cooky Book videos because I've done several now. I'll link that too in the description down below. Just in case you're really feeling in the baking mood and you need someone to accompany you, right? I hear that people like to play my videos in the background when they're doing long tasks. So maybe, if you want a baking buddy, I'm here for you. All right, let's just do the last bit here. Okay, we have a nice soft chocolate dough. Did take some work to get that flour worked in, so be prepared. As you can see, I divided it into 4ths. That is what Betty says to do, work with 1/4 of the dough at a time, which means I'm gonna try to make 4 different shapes of cookies. My oven is preheating right now, and I'm gonna get my press ready. Okay, so you unscrew the bottom part. It's like a little ring here. Then you make your selection on what you wanna do. I think, I kinda looked at it ahead of time. I think I want to do snowflake. The heart, it gives you a little guide. I'll show you. On the side of the box, it shows you exactly what shape cookie you get from each of these discs. And as you can see, especially, I love the heart, how it starts out looking like a Y and then it turns out like a heart. This is a good guide to just keep on hand so you know what shape is what. Yeah, buttercup. Let's do a tree. You can also get expansion packs for the holidays for these, but it comes with like 12 discs, this basic one, and I get a really good assortment of cookies out of it. Another thing I did to prepare for this is that I popped a couple of aluminum cookie sheets, baking sheets, into the fridge. You want them to be cool, but they don't have to be frozen. You also want to make sure that you're not using non-stick cookie sheets because the cookies actually need something to grab onto. In my other video, I did try to use air bake sheets at first, and those were non-stick. It just didn't work out. So just your basic like Nordic ware aluminum sheet pans, that's what you want. They don't have to be Nordic ware, that's just what I have. Get myself situated here. I think I wanna go for the snowflake first. Let's try that. I find that shapes that are solid, like they don't have a lot of other cutouts. So these that are just like one solid cutout, if you can see that, these are kind of the easiest to work with. When you get into more details, sometimes the press gives you a little bit of trouble, but I believe in you. I think you can do it. I know you can. And it's totally worth it too. Okay, let me see if I can remember how to do this. Press this gray button and it pulls up the plunger completely, like this. You can see. If you don't have this exact press, it's gonna vary. And then you wanna twist the top off. So you have these 2 pieces. And we're working with 1/4 of the dough, very soft. Just, you're in a good place if it's this soft. You do want it to be soft at room temperature. If you put it in the refrigerator for too long, it is gonna get too hard to go through the press. This is what I found. All of this is what I have found. Maybe it's a different experience for you. Okay, so you've got your tube with the disc already in there. And the reason I made it into a log is so that it would fit into this press a little bit more easily. Should have made it a little skinnier. You can see that I'm having a little bit of trouble. Make it skinnier than I did. You know what? We're just gonna do that. We're gonna screw the top back on. This is what it looks like. And you actually want to, normally this This dough would be at the bottom. If I had made it skinnier and dropped it in, would have worked like that. But you're gonna sort of like ratchet this. Maybe I'll come closer. Like this black lever, until the dough starts to hit the bottom. And actually what you want is for a little bit of dough to come through the press like that. You'll feel the resistance, okay? And that's not really your first cookie. You're gonna scrape that off and kind of save it for later. So to press the cookies out of the cookie press, place it flat against your cookie sheet. I like to hold on to the sheet a little bit so that when I bring the press up, the cookie stays on the sheet. That's something I found that works. You click this once, fingers crossed. I'm always so excited when this works. So that is what you have, and isn't that adorable? Well, look at that cute little snowflake. So I'm gonna do a few more here. We'll do a batch of snowflakes first. Yes, this is so satisfying. I am telling you what, you are having a heck of a day, and you just need a little bit of something that looks pretty and is fun and is gonna work. Like this is your thing. I mean, I can believe that this is working. I've done this before, but it's always so thrilling. You're just like stamping out little snowflake cookies. I think that was it. Yeah, so that was pretty much all for that little bit of dough. But look at what we have here. So I'm gonna decorate these a little bit because I'm not doing colorful dough. I'm doing chocolate dough for all of them. I have some assorted sanding sugars and things that I will bringing over my ragtag collection of things here. So I used a sanding sugar for the Snickerdoodles, one of these McCormick's finishing sugars. I have the candy cane one and it smells so good. It's very strong. So I do want to do some chocolate peppermint ones. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I need to tell you how nostalgic this peppermint smell is because of my grandma. She always had peppermint candy with her. Always a big bag in the back of the Buick. She always had them in her pocket. They were around the house next to her favorite chair. She always gave them to the grandkids. Like you could count on her to have peppermints with her. She loved peppermints. So that smell always reminds me of my grandma. I think maybe just some like clear, sparkly sanding sugar would be good too. Sprinkle it. I think I actually like doing cookie press cookies a little bit better than cutout cookies. I don't know why. I think the press is just like so much more satisfying. Maybe let's do some blue ones too. This blue sugar is so pretty. It's like electric. So it says to bake these in a 400-degree oven for 6 to 9 minutes. So while that first batch is baking, let's change out the disc here. It's gonna be probably stuck on because there's still a little tiny bit of dough in there. Okay, so I have the ring taken off. I'm gonna go for the buttercup disc next. Put that in there, screw that on. Same thing, press the gray button, pull up the plunger, and unscrew this. You're gonna have a little dough stuck to the bottom right now. You can scrape that off. That's why I like these tiny little firm spatulas to do that with. It is easier, I gotta say, to use all the same color of dough. You have to do some different things if you dye your dough 4 different colors. I did some tie-dye ones last time too. I took all of my leftover like colors of dough and I combined them into one log and it made tie-dyed cookies. That's fun. It's a good way to like use up the little leftovers too. Okay, I'm gonna try to make this log a little bit more narrow so it fits in there better. There, that's better. Okay, I did a better job this time. It's not serious though, folks. They're cookies. They're cookies. They're fun. That's what they're supposed to be. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing. Kind of ratchet this down a bit. Yep. Can scrape that in there, and we're gonna make buttercups. Yes. It's good to pull the press straight up as well, instead of like trying to go on an angle, because then it can pull the cookie off of the cookie sheet. These flowers look so cute. Why don't I make Spritz cookies more often? It doesn't have to be Christmas, does it? Notice I'm going a little willy-nilly on this sheet too. They don't have to be perfectly like in a row. Who cares? Just have fun with it. Life is stressful enough, just have fun with these cookies. That was the end of our buttercup dough. I just wanted to show you a bit of a close-up of the first batch of snowflake cookies. These are fresh from the oven. I baked them for 6 minutes. You don't want them to overbake. You just want them to be set. But aren't they cute? The last tray of cookies, they're in the oven right now baking. We ended up with a good amount here. Whatever, I'll pick up the tray. So here's one, and then I have another cooling rack partially full. So it's a good number of cookies. I'm definitely gonna be giving some of these away to my friends. I think it's time to try one. I think I've earned it. I'm gonna try one of these peppermint snowflakes because they're one of the first ones that we made, and so they have cooled. That is so good with the peppermint. They're not like soft and chewy, but they're not hard and crunchy either. They just kind of crumble a little bit. They're delicious. The chocolate is very good. I almost like the chocolate one better than the plain Spritz cookies that I made last time. Definitely give this one a try if you have a cookie press. Betty Crocker's Cooky Book was originally published in 1963, and I don't know if I am ever going to stop talking about this book. I love it that much. I've done several videos on Betty Crocker's Cooky Book, and I always have something to say about it. But first, I need to show you something really, really exciting to me. It's exciting to me. So this is the copy that I work from. This is a facsimile edition of the 1963 Cooky Book. That just means that this book appears exactly as the 1963 edition, but it was printed, I think, in the early 2000s. I see these pop up a lot, especially around this time of year. I've seen this at World Market. I think Target maybe even has it right now. So if you're looking for a copy, if you don't already have a copy of this, this is the facsimile version and it is still available. But look what I found recently. So the cover, a little faded, right? A little faded, but it's got the double ring binding, and this is a first edition, first printing of Betty Crocker's Cooky Book. I was so excited to find this. As I said, it's not in absolutely perfect condition. I don't care about those things. I am just thrilled to have one, and I got this for $5. Cookbooks are one of those things where the price can range wildly all over the place. I saw one of these sell recently for a lot more than $5. It was in a little bit better condition than this, but this has like all the pages. You know, it's got some wear on the cover, but that just means that it was well loved. This is going to be displayed on my bookshelf. I like to display and decorate with books, especially at Christmas time. So that is what this is. And a couple of other really cool things that viewers have sent me over the years. I have a Cooky Book ornament. Look at that. How cute. And even smaller. I wonder if the camera is going to be able to pick this up. It's like a dollhouse miniature version of the Cooky Book. And I display these things all year round because this book is very important to me. A lot of people grew up with this, including me. We baked a lot from this book. I don't actually know what happened to the version that my mom had. Likely it fell apart. I've heard that from a lot of people, that we loved this cookbook so much that it just fell apart. So let's just take a look at some things inside. Always love these photographs. There's so many beautiful photographs of cookies in here. And that's like when I was a kid, I would just sit and look through this book because I just loved all of the cookies. The first section has like this cookie border at the bottom that I love it. I do love that they have actual photos of a lot of the cookies in here. Not every single one, but a lot of them. This one right here is a favorite in our house. Probably the favorite cookie from this book in this house. That is a fudge melt-away bar. It's basically a Nanaimo bar, if you know what those are. I didn't actually know that that's what that was the first time I made it on this channel, but I had a lot of Canadian friends let me know. It's very, very similar. And oh my gosh, it is delicious. I'll probably make at least one, if not two batches of those this Christmas season. Beautiful pastel cookies. I have never tried any of these. There's so many in here that someday I may get to all of them, but I sincerely doubt it. And actually, there's something that I do run into sometimes that I've talked about. There are a few cookies in here that require a mix of some kind, usually like a frosting mix from Betty Crocker. They still sell the fluffy white frosting mixes, but in the past they had like other flavors available and other like styles of frosting that they don't sell anymore. So the cookies that are made with those, you know, maybe you're not going to be able to make them exactly as they are in this book. Maybe there's a good substitution. I'm not sure. It's one of those things that is maybe kind of lost. I don't know. There were a couple of cookies I was interested in making in this book, and they required like a date bar mix from Betty Crocker, and that doesn't exist anymore either. I always think that is kind of an interesting thing when I run into it. Oh, this 2-page spread of Betty Crocker's best cookies. There's a huge assortment here. We have ginger creams, hermits, cinnamon jumbles. There's chocolate chip cookies, the classic chocolate chip cookie. I actually did a video about the Toll House cookies that they have in this book. So I'll link that in the description down below. That was a while ago. Look how colorful those cookies are. So pretty. There's Russian tea cakes, holiday fruit drops. I love how they've packaged them up for gift giving here. Oh yeah, and actually I made these chocolate crinkles last year. I think that is a recipe that a lot of people enjoy and a lot of people make. The famous candy cane cookies and thumbprint cookies, I made those last year as well. A lot of Christmas photos here. Let's look at those. Cream wafers. Sorry about the glare. I'm trying to not get that on here, but yes, cream wafers. Delectable, delightful, tiny little sandwich cookies. I should probably make those on this channel sometime. They are one of my favorite cookies. My mom and my Aunt Jane always made them. The ingredients list, it's not extensive, you know, there's nothing super unusual in there, but they're just, oh my gosh, incredible. Flaky little cookie, and you just sandwich some cream filling between. It's really just, it's like a buttercream that you dye different colors, usually pink or red and green for the holidays, or you can do, we did these a lot in the spring. You can do pastel colors for the spring. That is fun. There's something that feels very fancy about them too, especially when you're a kid. Oh, here's the other thing I wanted to show. The cookie house. A lot of people love the cookie house. I've never made the cookie house. It's like a fairy tale. I mean, that is just like the ideal. Also, I really like this photo too. I especially love the ice cream container. I don't know, something about that ice cream container. I love it. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on about this book, but I won't. Let's talk about the cookies that I made today. So I made a classic Snickerdoodle recipe. I think this is a cookie recipe that has been like handed down through families. It's kind of a basic, soft cinnamon sugar kind of cookie. I chose to do some different things with the decoration just to theme it with the holiday season. These are really good. Like, they're an easy cookie to make. They are a drop cookie. The dough is not hard to work with. It's not super sticky, so they're easy to roll into balls. This is also a cookie that freezes well after you bake it. I chose to scoop some of the dough, roll it into balls, and freeze it that way. I've been doing that a lot lately. It works really well with like chocolate chip cookies, monster cookies, things like that. But I recently tried it with some chewy ginger cookies, and that went super well. I was incredibly pleased with how the red and green sugar like cookies turned out instead of just rolling them in regular cinnamon sugar. That was really fun. That was a really cool way to decorate these. I liked the taste of the cookies with like the gingerbread finishing sugar too. The ginger was not super strong on those, but it did taste good. So you could experiment with these a little bit and see what you can come up with in terms of decoration if you want to change it up and theme it for a holiday or an occasion. The second cookie I made, and this was completely new to me, I made lemon snowdrops. These taste so good. They taste so good. They're not like super crunchy or heavy or anything like that. They're just kind of light. And then they have that delicious, incredible butter lemon filling, and you sandwich them and then you roll them in powdered sugar. So taste, love it. Love the taste. So I made those yesterday and I had one today. The lemon flavor is not quite as intense, so I wouldn't make these super in advance. Some of the flavor does come from like the zest of the lemon, and I kind of think that fades over time. So I would say make these pretty close to when you're going to serve them or give them to someone, but they still taste incredible. Execution, let's talk about that. These were very interesting. They're a sandwich cookie, but they dome on top. They're not like a flat kind of cookie. They are a little roly-poly, okay? And then you're supposed to roll them, and I specifically looked at the instructions, roll them in powdered sugar. So mine don't look as good as Betty's, and it's okay because they taste really good. There's some things I would like to try. I think if you're gonna do the like sandwich cookie part, instead of rolling them in the powdered sugar, maybe like you can dust them with like a sieve or something. The only thing with that, it's gonna be a little bit more work if you wanna get full coverage on those, because you're gonna have to like dust them and then kind of turn them, and that might actually disrupt the look. I don't know. I think what I want to try, and I'll figure it out because I do want to make these again. They were that good. I want to try to do these in like a thumbprint style cookie so that it can be domed, but then you make an indentation in the top and then you fill it with that lemon butter filling that is so good. I actually have a little dish of it left over in my refrigerator, and I have some ideas on how I want to use it. So it might make an appearance in another video soon. These cookies are so delicious. You might want to experiment with like how you bake them exactly. If you like the way they look as those like roly-poly kind of sugar-coated ball cookies, sure, go for it. I think they're fun, but I am telling you, you probably want to allow a little extra time. They can be a bit frustrating to assemble, but very tasty. And then finally, I made a batch of chocolate Spritz cookies. I've made just regular Spritz cookies before. I've never made chocolate, so this was also a little bit new to me. and it gave me an opportunity to use one of my favorite tools, my OXO cookie press. It is so satisfying to use this press, or any cookie press really. This one is especially, I think though, just because of the way that it's like, it ratchets down, like you push that lever and then it makes this perfect cookie that you just like, once you pull the press up. And I really enjoyed the flavor on these, really. I wasn't sure if the chocolate, like how intense the flavor was gonna be. It's not in your face, but it's definitely there, and it mixes really well with the texture of the cookie. These are like a butter heavy kind of cookie. They're also very small, so you can grab a couple, you know, and taste them. It's a very fancy, very dainty. These are just a ton of fun. Whether you make chocolate ones or you make another flavor, there's a few other flavor variations in the cookie book that you can try. Or if you just make the plain vanilla or almond flavored ones that you can dye different colors, that's a lot of fun too. I chose to use different kinds of sanding sugar, like different colors and flavors of one flavor, peppermint, of sanding sugar to decorate these. I think these would also look really good if you just put some powdered sugar, sifted some powdered sugar over them. Or if you wanted to make like a very thin glaze, I think you could just do that and drizzle it on the top, or like dip the top a little bit, just to give it a little bit of sheen. It might actually show off the detail in the cookie as well. You don't notice the details in the chocolate cookies quite as much because it's all one color and they're kind of dark. It's not like when you make the regular Spritz cookies and you dye the dough different colors, but they're so tasty. They're so good. I'm filming this video pretty early on in the holiday season, but I think I'll be making another batch of these when it gets closer to Christmas. Do you have a favorite cookie from Betty Crocker's Cookie Book? I'd love to hear about it, so please let me know in the comments. I'd like to say a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to join us over there, I'll leave a link in the description so that you can do that. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I post videos about food, vintage cookbooks, and retro recipes every week. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.